Well, good morning, and what an awesome crowd. Thank you for being here. And you know, we've got a lot of things to be proud of from the last year. We moved some mountains this year. We made a great state that much greater. And with that, probably, very, very conceivably, with 6 months of while we were in session in 2013, we arguably did more than a decade in terms of installing some conservative, principled measures. I mean, for over 80 years, it took that long to restructure our tax package. Folks, we've got a simpler tax package, lower rates, lower corporate tax, and we're seeing the benefits, and we'll see more of that as time comes. Some more of the monumental legislation that we were able to install. We had an albatross with unemployment liabilities, 2.5, arguably $2.8 billion liability, and it wasn't getting better. Well, unemployment insurance reform, while it wasn't necessarily popular, was another conservative measure fiscally to improve a tremendous problem that we had. Voter ID, it wasn't easy. Thank you. And thanks to a whole lot of folks sitting amongst us right here to keep the pressure on. And fortunately, we had a little cooperation, believe it or not, at the Supreme Court level to bring a very legitimate voter ID package to our state so that our vote counts and isn't negated by someone who shouldn't be voting. Anyway, reg reform, that was a huge elephant that we're eating one bite at a time, but we made some major bites out of the elephant when it comes to burdensome regulation that stifles business, job providers. That coupled up with our tax package, we're seeing results. And as time passes, we will see more and more economic good come to our state in the form of job providers so that we can, as people who want to apply our skills, be able to bring revenue into our areas and ultimately improve our quality of life, our standard of living, and make ourselves overall healthier. Those were four major mountains that, thanks to outstanding leadership and conservative principles, are now part of North Carolina's law. But we did a lot more. There were many other items. We had two major military economic bills to protect installations from encroachment and also to protect our training low-level routes for aircraft. You know, everybody knows here I flew many years Air Force airplanes, and I had the privilege of being one of the key individuals to promote that bill. And with that, we protected our military interest. I'll talk about that a little bit more. We also protected the unborn with some major pro-life legislation. It wasn't necessarily well received from the other side, but we got it done. We hope to do more. Another item, protecting the Constitution. Now, there's some folks that didn't necessarily like that, but my Foreign Laws Protect Constitutional Rights bill, I can tell you that some of the subject matter experts that I reach back to on a frequent basis are sitting in this room right now. I greatly appreciate your support, both in expertise and also advocacy. That bill had to make it through the House and the Senate twice, and that's another story, but we got it done, and it is now the law of North Carolina to prohibit the application of foreign laws in our courts if and when an individual's fundamental constitutional right will be compromised by a foreign law in the area of family law. And we got that done. All total, as a freshman, thanks to a lot of support, 6 bills enacted into law, 8 others I served as a primary sponsor for. We protected your privacy in terms of your personal information, protected private property rights. My first bill was one that was really tough. It wasn't necessarily pretty in terms of the resistance that we got, but from a property rights standpoint, it's now our law. Again, we protected military interests, constitutional rights, even a small jobs bill, and 2 that improved education. So it was a phenomenal year, thanks to you, thanks to our local delegation. There is no one, I don't care what their position is, can get something through the House and the Senate and into law through the executive branch by themselves. There's some that can come close, but in the end, our local delegation working together, and I will say also, it's always good to have Senator Tom Apodaca over in the Senate to help stuff. If it can stand on its own 2 feet as solid legislation, it will be guided to where it needs to go, and I greatly appreciate the fact that we have him. Moving forward into 2014, you know, it's a short session. I indeed hope it's short, not from a standpoint of not wanting to work, but we need to go down, fine-tune the budget. We need to make a few tweaks on some of the major initiatives that we did. Anytime you do something major, there's always a few rough edges you need to file off, and we'll do that. We've got some pop-up issues like the coal ash situation that you've read about. It happened on our watch. It was decades in the making. We will deal with that. And then we'll also deal with some education issues that need addressing. Specifically on that, well, it's not done until it's done. Entry-level pay, there seems to be quite a consensus to get it up to the national average. We plan to do that without raising taxes and operating within our revenue means. We'll also work to the extent we can on state employees and overall teacher wages too. You know, we've got a big challenge with Medicaid. So when the April numbers with revenue from taxes start to come in and we get a better picture of that, certainly Medicaid, again, 6, 8 more years ago, our opposition that was in power then shoulda, coulda, woulda, and didn't address some just tremendous challenges that inevitably it's on our watch, and we're dealing with them. It's not easy to solve that particular issue when it comes to Medicaid, but we're doing it, and we will operate within our means to do it. Coal ash, things that pop up where you have basins that suddenly rupture and your drinking waters lies in the balance. Again, basins that were built before modern regulation that occasionally are having some issues, we indeed are going to address those in a timely, methodical, proactive, well thought out way. This is not a knee-jerk reaction that you simply throw something at to quiet the media. You do it so that it works long term, and we will be doing that. One other issue for the short session, and this will go into 2015 also. Folks, we have the 3rd most active duty members in the military in this state of all 50 states. We are a very pro-military state. It's the 2nd largest sector of our economy. But if anybody's watching the news, the Army's talking about going back to an end strength of pre-World War II levels. They just announced that the C-130 unit at Pope Army Airfield is slated for closure. That in and of itself is about $75 million impact on our state's economy. Plus, my brothers in arms, sisters in arms, I'm still actively serving in the military. These are issues that I will be at the heart of, trying to make sure our state fights the battle to the extent that we can at the state level, even though it's mainly a federal issue, to protect our military. Very briefly, as I watch the time, and I have 2 other items to take care of. Elections. We've had a great year. If we're going to continue to make the conservative corrections that we have installed and others we need to install, we've got to win elections. I mean, that's a no-brainer. I want to not just win them. I want us to win them in convincing manner, because the more we demoralize those who tend to just throw money at problems and have no social values whatsoever, the more we continue to keep people in our camp. So when it comes time to winning, I don't care if it's state, local, or national elections, don't take 2014 for granted. We absolutely have to unlock the gridlock in Washington by winning the North Carolina Senate seat. We've got some great candidates. In terms of the state races here, come November, Senator Apodaca's actually got a worthy opponent. Don't take him for granted. He'll win, but let's make sure he wins big. For myself, I actually have a very formidable opponent who's been posturing for 8 months now as the immediate past chairman of the Democratic Party in Transylvania County. He and his 25 proxies are throwing garbage in the newspaper about conservative principles right and left. So with that, let's not just win, let's work hard and win big. Now, that gets me to this. And as far as the timekeeper, I was told I had a little leeway on the time with this. What we have in our state, a couple months ago, Grady endorsed Hawkins asked if I could get a flag for the headquarters building. They were going to buy it, and I said, hey, thank you, I'll take care of it. So let's give them the credit for the idea. But in doing so, there's 2 dates on that flag. This flag, our state flag, one represents the dates of the Halifax Resolves, which was certainly a catalyst for other colonies going into the signing of the Declaration of Independence on 12 April 1776 to ultimately support declaring their independence. We also have another date. Now, sometimes people will dispute the Mecklenburg Declaration of Independence, and it also dovetails into the Mecklenburg Resolves. That's the 1775 date. What that is important on our flag, that our forefathers, the patriarchs and matriarchs of our state, saw the importance of freedom, independence, and a government bound by a constitution. They found it important enough many, many years ago to put those dates on our flag as a reminder. And it gets back into simply us, what we stand for in this room, operating within the confines of a constitution so that we have our freedoms protected. And with that, Glenn, I know you will fly it, display it proudly. This one has flown over the Capitol. Thank you for the opportunity to get it. Display it proudly.